Revelation chapter 13 and chapter 14 chapter 13 is about the antichrist and the beast. Chapter 14 is about two sets of angels that come, and it's three that come, and then there's three more that comes. It's two sets, and they're going to bring a great revival, and they're going to harvest those who are still yet remain on the earth by this time, and they're going to be witnessed to by the 144,000, which I mentioned earlier in the book of Revelation. That group of Jewish witnesses are still going to be alive. We know that the beast that we discussed in 9 and 10, the earlier chapters, are going to kill a lot of people. But these 144,000 witnesses are going to have a seal on them. And they're not going to be able to be killed by these creatures that are coming up from hell to bring judgment and torture all of humanity who rejects Jesus Christ. So they're going to be sealed. And so this 144,000 are going to survive. And so here we see the 144,000 in chapter 14. That's how chapter 14 opens. So this 144,000 Jewish witnesses are still alive, even though others are being killed. God protects the 144,000. Now, within the entering into, well, when you get to chapter 12, now we just going through the tribulation. But chapter 12, we are about to go through the great tribulation. And that's important to understand. That's important. We've already been going through the tribulation, and now we're about to go through what is called the great tribulation. And that's when God is about to allow Satan to take over. And he's going to cause great terror only to those who have rejected Jesus Christ. And so that's what I want to kind of look at. And I told you about the woman, the child, and the dragon. And that's that the dragon's going to try to kill the child, who is Jesus Christ. And the woman is Israel, and how that epic battle has been going on since Genesis 3:15. And so in Genesis 3:15, the heels of the Savior shall bruise the head of the serpent. And ever since then, Satan has been trying to destroy that child that would be born to bruise his head. And he has a hatred for the Jewish people because the Jewish people are God's chosen people. And so we see that emerging in chapter 12. Now, in chapter 13, we're fixing to see the rise of the antichrist. You have to go to John chapter 2. The word antichrist, as I said, is not mentioned in Revelation, but the word antichrist is mentioned in John's gospel. And that's important so you can really understand what it means when it talks about this person that is going to rise to power. And he's going to rise to power, and he's going to take over the whole world. And he is going to be an intellectual genius, an oratorical genius. He's going to be a political genius. He's going to be a commercial genius. He's going to be a military genius, and he's going to be a religious genius that is going to control the whole world. He's going to convince every government to fire or get rid of their president, and he's going to become the president of the world. He's going to unite all of the world under one authority, which is his authority. He's going to have a one world government with a one world currency, and he's going to have absolute power over the entire world. When it says that the beast rose from the sea, and he had seven horns and the crowns on his head, all of that is the authority that the political structures or the political powers are going to give him to rule over the whole world. And this is what one commentator says. He's going to be able to control the Egyptian empire, the Assyrian empire, and it's talking about those empires that existed in the past, but those empires also exist in some form now. And the Assyrian Empire, the Babylonian Empire, the Persian Empire, the Greek Empire, the Roman Empire, all of these superpowers exist today. Russia, China, the Arab nations, the European Union, all of these countries are going to be able to be under the control of the Antichrist because they're going to give him the authority to be over them. And this is going to mark the 7 years of tribulation. And the world is going to be in such chaos, in such confusion. The world is going to be in such disarray. It's going to be looking for somebody to speak and to lead and to give words of instruction and direction. And this person is going to emerge. Now, his identity is what I want to talk about, because some believe he has to be Jewish, others believe he has to be a Gentile. And the guy that I'm reading today says that the Antichrist will certainly be a Gentile and not a Jewish person, because the world will already hate the Jews. And so he couldn't be Jewish, because the world would never follow a Jewish leader, because Jews are now been villainized by the entire population and by religious leaders. So no superpower would follow a Jewish leader. That's why they believe that he is a Gentile. And if I said he was Jewish, I want to correct that. He would be a Gentile who will come from the sea. And he will come from the Gentile and the heathen nations. He will absolutely be a man of power, a man of influence. Now, the chronological order, I was reading something that said that chapter 14 and chapter 13 is not necessarily in chronological order, because in other words, it's not chronologically written. John was writing about the future, and chapter 13, where this beast in chapter 14 probably has already happened. In other words, the Antichrist was already alive when the tribulation started. The 7-year tribulation started. He already existed. He already lived. He was already born, but he didn't rise to power until around chapter 13. And he's going to rise to power suddenly. And I'm telling you, he is going to be some kind of leader. And what's going to make people so fascinated by him is that, according to verse number 3, he's going to be mortally wounded, fatally wounded. He's going to get shot in the head. And he's going to not stay dead. He's going to die, but he's going to live. He's going to be resurrected, or he's going to come back to life, which is going to mimic the resurrection of Christ. And that's going to make him even more popular. You know, Jesus was more popular after his resurrection than he was before his resurrection. His own 2 brothers didn't believe that he was the Messiah until after he was resurrected. James and Jude did not believe that Jesus Christ was. They said when Jesus was alive in the Gospels, Sister Calvert, that he had lost his mind. He was beside himself. They didn't believe. But after his resurrection, he became more popular. The Antichrist is going to have the same kind of influence. After he is fatally wounded, he is shot, and he dies, he's going to be resurrected from the dead, which is going to make him even more popular. He's going to be so popular. And that's going to really give rise to him exerting his power and his influence over the whole world. But then John says he also saw another beast. And he talks about 2 beasts. One beast came from the sea, the other one came from the land. Now, the beast that came from the land is going to be the religious leader. He's called in the Bible the false prophet. You're going to have a political leader, you're going to have a religious leader. The religious leader, the Antichrist, is going to wipe away every religious belief. He's going to outlaw Buddhism, Hinduism, Christianity, Judaism, Catholicism, any kind of religion of any tongue, tribe of people, he gonna outlaw it. There's gonna be one religion, and that is the religion of worshiping the antichrist. He's gonna need somebody to head that, and that's gonna be the false prophet. And this false prophet is going to be some kind of religious leader that put people under duress to follow and worship the antichrist. And so this beast is also going to have authority. He's going to be powerful, and he's going to absolutely be a proxy for the antichrist. And so that's really what chapter 13 is about. And the beast from the earth is mentioned in verse 11 of the 13th chapter. This is, I saw another beast coming out of the earth who had two horns and looked like a lamb and spoke like a dragon. He's going to look harmless. That's verse 11. This false prophet, this second beast, he's going to look harmless, but he is not harmless, because look at the description. He had like a lamb, but he spoke like a dragon, and he exercised authority of the first beast in his presence, and caused the earth and those to dwell to worship the first beast. He's going to be a person who's going to do the work. He's going to be the envoy. He's going to be the representative, ambassador for the Antichrist, and he's going to be a religious leader. He's going to be very, very deceptive, and he's going to get people to worship this false prophet, this Antichrist. And I'm just telling you, this second beast is going to be just as dangerous. And he shall deceive those who dwell upon the earth. Verse 14, I'm just kind of moving through it quickly. He's going to deceive those who dwell upon the earth by signs which he has been granted in the sight of the beast, and tell those who dwell on the earth to make an image of the beast who was wounded by the sword and live. So he's going to commission the world, those who are in the world at that time. He's going to commission them to build this statue, this image. And so you see how all this is playing out. It's like the image of the Christian church is the cross. The image of the Jewish religion is the Star of David. The image of the Islamic faith is the crescent moon. And so now this Antichrist, he's fixing to have an image, and this beast is fixing to make the world up, tell the world to direct this image so that everybody can see an image of the beast, so that everybody can serve and worship this beast. He was granted power to give, beneath the image of the beast. And I'm moving down to verse 15. And he spoke, and I'm telling you, this guy is going to have all of this charisma. And one of the commentators I was reading, you're talking about a charismatic leader with charisma, this oratorical skill to convince people to, gonna be skillful in the way he communicates. Now, that's the thing that we don't really consider, that just because somebody can speak sharp words and real sophisticated, educated, doesn't mean that they are necessarily of God. And sometimes words can be very slick, and slick words can be deceptive words, and you gotta know how to discern. So this beast is going to literally work for the Antichrist, and he's gonna, verse 16, he causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive the mark in their right hand and on their forehead, that no one may be able to buy, sell, except they have the mark of the beast and the number of his name. So this political leader is going to use this religious leader, this second beast, to literally, you won't be able to buy, sell, or trade if you don't have the mark in either your right hand or your forehead. I was reading the commentators on this. Some even said it might be a tattoo. So if you here and you don't want no tattoo, you better leave out of here during the rapture, because it could be a tattoo, which is a barcode. It could be an implanted microchip, but it's going to be a mark that signifies that you belong to the beast. But you also know that the 144,000 in the 14th chapter, they're going to have a mark. They're going to be sealed. You're going to know who they are because of the imagery that you see physically upon their person. In this particular text, you're going to have that mark either right here or right here. We know it's a number. You got to have that mark before you can buy, sell, or trade. So if you don't swear allegiance, bow down to this beast, which is the antichrist, the first beast, you won't be able to buy, sell, or trade.
Who's going to put the mark on?
The government, this one world government. The beast is going to oversee this project to make everybody who bows to the beast take the mark to show allegiance. The same way they make you pay Social Security. The same way they make you and put you, some things you forced to do by the government. You ain't got no choice but to pay taxes. You ain't got no choice but to pay in the Social Security. And it ain't no choice. You ain't got no choice but to pay taxes. So that's how they gonna do it. They're gonna make you do it. They're not gonna give you a say-so in it. And the beast and the false prophet gonna have that same power. Okay, you get hungry enough, you'll get that mark. If you want a house, a car, food and clothes, you will get that mark. The world will be in sure desperation and in despair, and people will get this mark because they don't want to suffer. Who likes suffering? But there are going to be those who refuse the mark, and they're going to suffer and they're going to die. They're going to become martyrs. We know that in chapter 14. They are not going to take the mark. They are not going to do it. And they're going to be not only Jew, but Gentile, all kind of people. And by chapter 14, chapter 13 is the bad news. Chapter 14 is the good news. There are people who are going to refuse to take the mark in either their right hand or their forehead. They'd rather die and suffer for Jesus Christ than to take the mark of the beast. We know that, but I'm just telling you, this is what these two satanic beings will do. You will have to take the mark. You won't have a choice because you're going to get hungry. You won't be able to buy, sell, or trade. You won't be able to get food, buy food. You won't be able to buy a house, get a car. You won't be able to do anything. And they will be able to identify you because the guy who shot the insurance agent in New York the other day, in New York City, 150 images of you are taken every day you're in New York. 150 images. If you go to New York right now, you can't go through the city or not one barrel in New York where your photo is not taken 150 times. So imagine how they can identify you. They tracked him from every spot where he went. Imagine adding to that technology a barcode scanner that wherever, because that mark's going to be on your right hand, you can be walking down the street. And the camera not only takes a picture of you, but it also takes a scan of your image that's either on your hand or your forehead. That technology already exists in China. So you ain't going to be able to move nowhere. They're not going to know where you are. You're not going to be able to move nowhere. Ain't going to be no such thing as buying from an underground grocery store, going to an underground church.
So they track you
everywhere you go. They track you right now. They knew you was all up in Chattanooga. They knew every grocery store and convenience store and gas station you stopped at. As a matter of fact, they knew everything you bought when you went in there. If you used a debit card, they knew exactly how much gas you used on the whole trip. They do that now. But they're going to be able to accelerate that because they're going to have a purpose for doing that. They already got you to buy into that. If you got a debit card, your banking information, how much money you got in the bank is on that card. You didn't know that, did you?
Yeah.
How much money you got? Somebody within banking knows how much money you got. Now imagine when they turn that over to the government and then the government restricts access to that, the Antichrist and the beast, until you take the mark. You ain't gonna be able to get access to that money. That's how serious it's gonna be. But you won't be here if you know Jesus. You have to worry about none of these problems. Because you will have suffered the wrath of God be through the death of Jesus Christ. But that technology already exists. When I was interviewing the mayor, they finna get cameras that they have on 45 and Highway 50. They finna put them in every neighborhood. High crime in Tupelo. I was in court this week. A girl who was in there, who shot off a gun. She said, well, how did anybody know I shot a gun? And the judge told her, because we heard you. Because we got the technology in the neighborhood that recognizes the gunshot, and we can find that gunshot within 1 mile from where the gunshot was fired. That technology already exists. So not only are they watching you, they listening to you, what's going on in your neighborhood. They heard the whole, pretty much, they can record all that stuff. That technology already exists. This is not far-fetched from where we are now. The problem is that you have individual liberties now based upon the Constitution that we are under living in America. But won't none of that stuff protect you if you are living in this time. You have no constitutional freedom. You won't have the freedom of speech. You won't have none of that. You won't have no individual rights. This antichrist and beast will control your life 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You won't be able to get on a bus, take a taxi, buy any grocery, deposit any money, withdraw any money without their permission. You won't be able to leave your house. The problem with electric cars is this. If the electric cars are electric and there is a database that has your electric car's information, and then we know they have it because from that information on those satellites and in those supercomputers, those cars can drive for you. You can take your hand off the steering wheel and put on your automated driving, and you can go to sleep just about in the Tesla, and that car will take you where you're going. All you have to do is enter the address. Now, if business and technology companies have that kind of information, now if you don't do what they said, they can turn your car off. Imagine giving somebody that kind of power. That's the problem, and that's going to happen eventually. If they can turn it off now. Listen, if I lock the keys in my car, I can call them and they can unlock my car right now. They can crack my car.
A lot of those car dealerships right now, you go to them kind.
Yeah.
And they put that thing on your car.
Oh yeah, that's how they.
That car payment.
Yeah.
They cut it off right wherever you is.
Yep. Turn it off where you is, they can find it. You can't park behind nobody's house no more. They gonna find that car. They gonna find that car. They put a GPS tracker on every used car that's sold. Now has a GPS tracker.
They don't worry about you not paying.
They don't worry about it, because they turn that sucker off and it won't crank. They can disable it from, I don't care if you bought it in California. They can disable that car and that sucker will not crank. But I'm telling you, I locked my keys in my car and I called Lexus and they unlocked my car for me. I ain't got to call the police. They just put that satellite on my car, unlock my car, I'm in. And if it won't crank, they'll tell me what's wrong with it. Simple as that.
I just see people talk to the TV, tell Lexus, find me Highway 50.
Yes.
There you go, thank you.
Well, but see, that technology is even scarier because she's not only listening when you are talking, she's listening when you ain't talking.
That's right.
Isn't it strange that you could be talking about something, and if you got a smartphone, all of a sudden, what you were talking about and you didn't think nobody heard you start popping up on your phone, coming through your live feed. They listen to you when you ain't even talking to them.
You know when you're on your phone talking.
Yeah.
You get a little green light.
That's right.
They always come on.
That's right.
And then I was reading up on it, and it said what that little green light is. You can disable it.
I disable mine.
I didn't do it, but it said that little green light. That means somebody is listening.
Yeah, the AI is listening, technology is listening. Because I'd be sitting there, I'd be like, man, I want some chicken. And then I pick up my phone, start scrolling through Facebook, Instagram, all I see is chicken commercials. Raising Cane, Kentucky Fried Chicken, Popeye. Because I just said that. And there's a way you can go into your phone and disable that so that go into the analytics so it won't share your private information. Even with having a Siri in your house, even when you're talking, she's listening, but when you're not talking, you know she'll ask you a question in the middle of the day and ask you to take a survey. Yeah, she just start talking. because she's always listening. But that technology exists. I'm telling you, we're not far from this happening now. The technology already exists. If you got a car that's been built and it's a 2000 above, they already know everything you're doing. If you go into Kroger and you use your Kroger's card, then you know that ain't no to help you save money. That's to track your spending, to figure out what you buying, so they can send you coupons and advertisements. Ain't got nothing to do with trying to saving money. They ain't giving you a 3 cent off. Then you ain't saving no money. You would save more money if you coupon than putting your ID in there. That's to track your how many times you come into Kroger's, what days you come in Kroger's on, and what you buy when you go in there. And then when your receipt come out, they start printing receipts. As soon as you put your number in for ice cream, because they know every month around the first of the month you in there buying ice cream. So they send you all the discount they can. You know what I'm saying? And then the biggest way companies make money is by mining data. And that is, if you put your phone number in anywhere, they put it in these computers and they sell it to companies. And they find out everything about you. That's the reason why when you go into a store, the first thing they ask you for is your phone number. I go into Lowe's, they ask me for my phone number. I said, for what? Do you want to sign up to your email? No. Well, can I have your phone number? You cannot. Ring me up and tell me how much my product is so I can leave. Because I don't want you selling my phone numbers to telemarketers, because that's how you make money. That's why you're getting all these telemarketer calls. Because you get them 24 hours a day because people are selling your personal information. They always trying to sell you something based upon your spending habits. You go in there and you buy a doorbell ringer, you're going to get 1,500 doorbell commercials because they're going to sell to every company that sells doorbell. You're going to get them on your live feed and they're going to be calling you. Calling you. And type something into Google. You better not do that. Go ahead.
You remember back here, I guess it was last year, they passed this law, or tried to get this law through Congress.
That law ain't working a bit.
Well, you know, when you go to the bank, anything, I think over $6,000, if you go and draw it out and swap it to another account, you got to report that to the government.
Absolutely.
It's your money. And if you decide, well, I'm going to get me $6,000 out today and do whatever with it.
Well, they're already controlling you.
The bank got to report it to the government.
All right, yeah. You can't pay cash for a car now. You can only pay $9,999.99 on a car. Anything over $10,000, they're gonna flag it, and the IRS is gonna send you a letter as you where you got $10,000 from. That's what I'm saying. That's how crazy it is now. But it's about government control. It's just like Cash App. You can only withdraw so much. You can only put in so much. It used to not be like that. But that's because we've been under the Democrats. They want every tax dollar they can get in their hand to give it to somebody who ain't working and ain't earned it. It's ridiculous. I was driving yesterday, and I know I'm a little off topic. You know how much taxes we pay? You pay taxes on where you live, because I got my taxes last week. You pay taxes on where you live, you pay taxes to drive, you pay taxes to eat, you pay taxes to drink water, you pay taxes to get gas in your house, you pay taxes to buy clothes, you pay taxes to buy food. You know how we are taxed at almost 45% of your income goes to taxes on everything.
Have you noticed now when you go to the restaurant and buy food?
Yeah.
Back here some months ago, we had bought lunch at the shop.
Yeah.
And for some reason, I looked at the receipt. And I'm looking at the receipt, and it says 10%, some kind of extra fee. It didn't really explain what the fee was for. So you get an extra 10% for some kind of something. It wasn't no tip.
No.
But it was another something they had it listed there. But you didn't know what it was. But it was 10% added to your total.
But see, and that's because, you know, it's considered raising wages and other incidental costs that they say that they're incurring, and they don't want to raise prices, so they want to raise the fees. It's like if they have to deliver it to you, they're going to give you a fee. That's not in store. It's just so much stuff. But I'm just trying to explain to you, they know everything about you right now. They know every absolutely thing about you right now. The reason why they so hate Donald Trump, he wants to dismantle the industrial complex, the medical complex, the military complex. The government knows too much about us. They too involved in our lives. We can't do nothing now.
And Trump gonna stop it.
Sure he is. He already, why you think they fighting him now? Doge, the government efficiency program. I mean, you know how much money they spend that don't make no sense whatsoever. Why are you giving hamsters cocaine? They gonna be high. Why do you giving bees methamphetamine to see how they react? What you giving somebody a grant of that level and magnitude?
A shrimp on a treadmill.
A shrimp on a treadmill.
How fast he can run on the treadmill.
Right. I mean, these nonsensical things that just waste money. Waste money. It's like the woman from Chicago said, they have spent $150 million housing immigrants in hotels. And she said, we got homeless folk in our neighborhood everywhere. Y'all ain't never gave us a dime.
Well, I tell you what, you can ask the man in Chicago now. He in the hot seat.
He in the hot seat.
All the black folk done got mad.
And see, you from New York. Kathy Hochul finna give $300 to every New Yorker making less than $150,000. What is $300 gonna do in New York? You can't eat for $300 in New York. By the time you buy gas, that done took up half. You'll fill up your car. $300 in New York. You know how much gas is in New York? Almost $7 to $9 a gallon. $9.50. $300 ain't gonna help you none. And you ain't even went to the grocery store. A cup of coffee in Mississippi gonna cost you $3.48. That same cup of coffee gonna cost you anywhere from $12 to $22 in New York.
You get a hot dog, it's $10.
It's $10 for a hot dog. I can get a whole pack of hot dogs and 2 packs of buns with ketchup. And I'm just trying to explain to you the ridiculous nonsense and how they have already gotten so much control over us. And let me tell you about the medical complex. Medicine is supposed to heal you, not to keep you on there coming back and forth to the doctor. Nobody here knows who Dr. Sabian is. Dr. Sabian he's dead now, but he was a holistic person. The medical complex literally is killing us. They never want us to stop coming to the doctor. I know one thing, my mechanic better not fix my car as such to where I gotta come see him every month. We ain't gonna have a problem. Because I ain't supposed to come to you with a problem and my car tore up and then I gotta come back and see you every month. The doctor's supposed to be the same way. In every other industrialized country, that's what they do. You don't see the doctor every year. You don't even get your prescription changed every year because your eyes don't get weaker every year. They might over 2 or 3 years. They just passed that. I'm saying they want to keep us in that complex, in that system to control, to manipulate. Anyway, I'm going off the tag. But I'm just saying, let me go to chapter 14. But I'm saying this antichrist and this beast is going to take over the world. And they're halfway. I mean, the world is set up halfway there. And he says in here, and let him who understands calculate the number of the beast, for it is the number of man. His number is 666. You're going to have that mark either on your right hand or on your forehead. And they're going to be able to scan you everywhere you go.
3 6s.
3 6s. And one's going to be a barcode. But everybody will have a number. But you'll have that beast, that number, so they can track you. Every item in the grocery store, and there's more items in the grocery store than there are people in the state of Mississippi in the grocery stores I go to. Every item in there has a different barcode number. Every human being will have a barcode number. But you will also have the mark of the beast. So they got to be able to track you and know what individual you are, know all your personal information, your height, weight, your size, your amount of money you live, who your family is, who your children are. They'll know everything about you within that technology. Everybody will have a specific barcode. And then in chapter 14, which is the good news, is that the 144,000 are going to continue to evangelize. You see that again? And then I looked and behold, standing on Mount Zion with the 144,000, with the name written in their forehead. Again, that's going to be important to have this visual representation of the image of the person in which you worship. These 144,000 going to have a mark in their forehead.
So we'll
But-
be with that 144,000.
Huh?
We'll be with the 144,000.
No, we'll be in heaven. We don't even know what's going on down here.
Oh, okay.
Because the church will have been raptured up out of the world. We got raptured up by now.
Where the
That's
144 going in?
they going to witness to the rest of the people. By chapter 13, half of the world's population has been killed
Okay.
because of the judgment of God, because of the beast, because of the 7 trumpets, and these seven, all these judgments. Half of the world population is already dead. So now half the population still exists. The primary focus of the 144,000 is to go witness to Jews. But not only the Jews still live upon the earth, but every tribe of every nation of every tongue. There are people in Africa, in Australia, in every other part of the world that have never heard the gospel. The 144,000 are going to witness to them. See, don't think about this whole idea of what's in Revelation based on America, because America is such a small part of the world. There are people in Africa who've never heard the gospel. There are Gentiles who are in Australia, tribes and people on islands. We don't know much about the Sentinelese Islands off of Australia. Not one person who is not Sentinelese has ever been on that island. They don't even know how many people on that island. That is the only ethnic group of people, the Sentinelese, where no individual other than a Sentinelese has ever stepped up on that island. They have no diseases, no heart disease, none of that stuff. They are a pure-blooded race of people because no foreigner has ever stepped foot on the Sentinelese Island. It's against the law. If they do, they'll kill you. They had no contact with the outside world. They don't even know that electricity exists. They don't even know what medicine is. They know nothing about the outside world on the Sentinelese Islands. If you think I'm not telling you the truth, Google it. They don't know nothing about. They don't know the outside world exists.
No, they use herbs.
They live off of the earth.
Yeah, that's true. They will kill you because they had a pastor
A missionary that went there,
went there
tried to spread the gospel, and they killed him.
and killed him.
Sure did. They've never had contact with the outside world in history. Never. They have no modern technology. And the reason why they have never had no diseases, because nobody has ever been able to come to the island and spread any bacteria. But they live free. But I'm saying those kind of people have never heard the gospel. The 144,000 are going to witness to them. Some of them are going to be saved.
And they raise everything.
Raise everything.
Everything.
They're off the grid. And then had the voice, and I heard a voice from heaven says, the many waters and the loud thunders and the sounds of the harps playing, and they sung a new song before the throne and before the living creature, the 24 hours. No one could learn that song except the 144,000, those who had been redeemed upon the earth. And so this scene is taking place in heaven. There's a new song that's being sung that the angels can't sing. Only the 144,000, those who have been redeemed. Now, who are the 144,000? According to verse 4, these are the ones who have not defiled, who are not defiled with women, and they are virgins, and they follow the Lamb wherever he goes. And these are the redeemed, of whom among the first fruits of God and of the Lamb. In their mouth there is found no deceit, and without fault before the throne of God. And so these are those who are going to continue to witness for God. And then he's going to talk about 3 sets of angels. And I'm going to cover this, and I'm going to be finished with chapter 14, last Bible study for the year. He talks about 2 sets of angels. And in these sets of angels, 2 sets of angels, there's 3 angels that appear. And they're fixing to do something extraordinary. Therefore, one of them is fixing to explain the eternal gospel or proclaim the eternal gospel. Each one of them are going to have a sickle in their hand. And so I'm just trying to give you commentary because I have to run out of time. He says, and I saw an angel flying from the midst of heaven, having the eternal gospel to preach to those who dwelled on the earth, to every nation, tribe, tongue, and people, saying with a loud voice, fear the Lord, give him glory, for the hour of judgment has come. Worship him who made the earth, the heavens and the earth, and the seas and the springs of water. And this angel is going to proclaim the eternal gospel. This angel is going to talk about God, and so many people are going to hear this message. And then I saw another angel that followed him. This judgment is going to proclaim judgment upon Babylon. Babylon is the world system that had been set up by the antichrist. And this second angel is going to come, and he's going to proclaim judgment. He's going to say, Babylon is fallen. Babylon is fallen, the great city, who has made the nations drink the wine of the wrath of her fornication. And so this angel is going to proclaim that this system that's been set up by the Antichrist will fall. And then he's going to talk about a third angel. This is the first set. And then the third angel saying with a loud voice, anyone who has worshipped the beast and the image and have received the mark on their forehead on their right hand shall drink the wrath of the wine of God, the wrath of God that is poured out in the full strength of his indignation, and they will be tortured with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels, in the presence of the Lamb, and the smoke shall and the smoke of their torture shall ascend forever and ever. And so he's talking about now the third angel proclaims that those who have rejected God is now going to be sentenced to hell. They're going to be forever tortured. Now, we don't understand the torture of hell. The torture of hell is not anything being done to us. The torture of hell is just being in hell. We know that because of the story I talked about Sunday. The rich man who went to hell, wasn't nobody doing nothing to him. He was just in hell, and the heat, the thirst, he could feel, he could see, he could relate to his environment. That's hell. And so this third angel proclaims that that's what's going to happen to those who reject God, who do not hear the witness of the 144,000. You will have your conscious mind in hell. You will be able to feel in hell. You will never die in hell. Hell will forever exist around you, and you will forever be away from the presence of God. You will know that you're in hell. The people that say once you die, you were just dead. No, that's not true. These people have a physical awareness of being in hell. And so this is the third angel who has made his proclamation. And so therefore, there's going to be a great reaping of those who will come to faith in Jesus Christ, a rejection of those who don't, and then the judgment of the nations. Great Babylon has fallen. And then he's going to talk about the second set of three angels in verse 14. He's going to talk about the second. Now, this is a whole different set of angels. They're going to be in verse 14. And he's going to say, and then I looked, and behold, a white cloud, and one that sat upon him was like unto the Son of Man. And he had a golden crown and a sickle in his hand. And then another angel came out from the temple crying with a voice, and he who sat upon the cloud thrust the sickle, and he said, reap, the time of reaping. This is going to be a great revival. And so the witness of the 144,000, there's going to be so many people saved and come to faith in God through Jesus Christ during this time when the second set of angels, the first angel, is going to reap. And so he thrusts his sickle upon the earth, and the earth was reaped. There's going to be a great evangelistical campaign. A lot of people are going to come to faith in God. And then there's another angel. In verse 17, another angel came out of the temple of heaven, also having a sharp sickle. This angel came out and had power over the fire and cried with a loud voice and the sharp sickle, saying, thrust the sickle and gather the clusters of the vine on the earth and the grapes that are fully ripe. This is evangelism. This is people being saved. And he thrust the sickle into the earth to gather the vines of the earth and threw them into the great winepress of the wrath of God. So these angels are, the first angel is reaping the benefit, but then this second angel has a dual purpose. He is also reaping, but what he's also going to do, according to this text, he's going to separate the right from the wrong, the saved from the unsaved. And he's going to throw into the great winepress of the wrath of God those who have rejected God. They're going to be, he's going to separate upon the earth the distinction between those who have accepted and those who have rejected. And when he puts his sickle and reap, he's going to reap some the saved, but he's also going to, in that gathering, he's going to gather up the unsaved. One of the old songs of the old church, one of my favorite. I can hear them singing it right now. They sung it just about every Sunday. I want to be at the meeting when all of God's saints come gathering home. After the separating of the right from the wrong, I want to be at the meeting around the throne. That's pretty much what this angel is going to do. But he's going to do it on the earth. He's going to separate. There are going to be two distinct marks. There are going to be people in one line who has the mark or the symbol or the sign that they belong to God, and symbol of the signs of those who belong to Satan. And there's going to be a separation. This is what this angel is going to do. And so this is the second set of angels. And he's going to separate. And he's going to put them what is called the wine press outside of the city. And blood came out of the wine press and up to the horse's bridle, and 1,006 furlongs. This is going to be probably, I was reading, it's going to be a massacre. When it talks about wine, it talks about blood, it talks about this it's going to be of that magnitude, that the judgment, so many people are going to be killed, until it talks about that the blood is going to flow up to the horse's neck. You see the horse, that's how bad it's going to be. It's going to flow that much judgment. And then in chapter, I'm closing this out because I'm going to go to chapter 17, because it's a whole other set of judgments that are going to be. And after all of this, the major thing, there's still going to be some people that reject God. Because now even more judgment is coming, because now you got the prelude to the bowl judgment. Now that's absolutely amazing, that after all of this, there are people who still reject God. They've seen the church raptured up out of the world. They've went through all of these judgments, trumpets. They've seen the rise of the antichrist. They've seen the suffering they have had to go through under the antichrist. They heard these angels come and proclaim the eternal gospel. They've seen this separating of the believer from the unbeliever. And still, by chapter 15, they still don't believe. They had to be black folk. Because in the face of all this evidence, they ain't moved 1 inch closer to God. That's the amazing thing, because chapter 15 is about these judgments, because the bowls start being poured out in chapter 16. And I don't want to get there, because y'all know how I start, but it starts in chapter 16, but it's going to be a whole nother set of judgments. But we're about to end it, because once you get through all of these bowls judgments, and you know Jesus is going to start talking with the 6th bowl judgment, because that's when the Euphrates River dries up. And that's going to be amazing when there's nothing left there. And then we're going to get to chapter 17. We're about to be through. And then, but I'm trying to explain to you that even in the midst of all of this, people still don't believe, because of the hardness of men's hearts, and because some people are just not going to be saved no matter what. Now, that's hard to fathom. But there's some people just not, you just can't save them. You can't help them. No matter what you do. You know, God has already saved through the doctrine of predestination, eternal security. God has already said everybody that's going to be saved. God knows who's going to be saved. God knows who's not going to be saved. And God knows that the people who are not going to be saved, he knows they're not going to be saved. They can't be helped, no matter what. The same attempt of Jesus to try to get Judas to take a different course in life, and Judas choose to take the course he took. Because when Jesus invited him to the Lord's Supper, he preserved a seat for him that was for a special guest. And when Jesus said what he said to him, Jesus didn't say it out loud, but Jesus whispered it. Because if the other disciples, 11, would have knew it was Judas that was going to betray Jesus, we know he'd have never made it out of the room, because of what Peter done to the soldier who put his hands on Jesus in the garden. Judas would have never made it out of the room. They would have got him before he ever went out of the room. The conversation is recorded because the Holy Spirit revealed it to those who recorded this conversation. But that was a private conversation. But Jesus wanted to do everything he could to try to get Judas to change course. And all of this in Revelation, people are still going to reject God in the face of overwhelming evidence. The hearts of man is utterly wicked and utterly depraved, and without God saving us, we would never want to be saved. You saved because God wanted to save you, not because you wanted to be saved. But God knew at the point in time, season, and the place for your heart to be, for you to turn to salvation. It's absolutely extraordinary. I was listening to some guys, 3 guys talk about this, and it's so extraordinarily amazing is how God, and what extent God goes through in order to give all humanity a chance to be saved. But they won't take it. They will not take it. God is merciful, God is kind, but God is long-suffering. But see, this is the reason why hell exists. Now see, people wonder, how could a holy and righteous and loving God create and make a person go to hell? He does it. But why would you make somebody come where they don't want to be? He gives them a free invitation to heaven, an opportunity to come through faith in Jesus Christ, to trust him and believe in him. Now, if you don't believe, why should you be made to come to heaven? But you got to live eternity somewhere.
All right.
And if you don't live it in heaven,
Right.
you got to live somewhere. You got to exist somewhere. There's never going to be a time when you don't exist. And God gives you an open invitation. Behold, I stand at the door of your heart and knock. And you can come and invite him in. But you can also come with him, because in John chapter 14, he says, let not your heart be troubled. You believe in God, believe also in me. For in my Father's house are many mansions. I go to prepare a place for you. Heaven is a prepared place for prepared people, but God is not going to make you come to heaven, make you worship him, make you serve him, but you got to live eternity somewhere.
Amen.
Hell was not created for us, created beings. It was created for Satan. Because he rejected God. He was in heaven. He didn't want to be there, but he had to exist somewhere because he was a created being like you and I. He couldn't just live out in the vacuum of space. To be from the presence of God is to be in hell, where God is, but God is not. So God doesn't create hell for us. He created hell for Satan in the demonic, a third of heaven that went with him. Hell is a choice, but hell will be your eternal existence if you reject Jesus Christ. God is not going to force you to do anything. He's not going to force you to accept him. He's not going to force you to come to a place you don't want to be, to serve a God you don't want to serve. But once you are born, you will forever live. If Job asked the eternal question, a probing question, that even the philosophers, Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle, and the 21st century philosophers asked the question, if a man dies, will he live again? Job said that in the midst of despair and hopelessness, based upon his current situation. But the answer to that question is yes. Every man who lived, once born, forever you'll live. Never will there be a time when all of the trichotomy of your existence. Now, when you are born with a soul, spirit, and a body. Now, there will come a time on this earth that your body will not be able to house your spirit and your soul. But once you're born, your soul and your spirit will live forever. Either in the presence of God or outside the presence of God. We call it hell because that's what the Bible says. But it's better understood this way. You live either in the presence of God or outside the presence of God. It's your choice. But in this book, you see there are people who still choose to live outside the presence of God, outside the protection of God, the provision of God. They choose to not want God at all. And there are people just like that. No matter what you tell.
Forgiveness, he still will forgive them.
He would forgive them. That's what this first set of angels and this second set is trying to bring the message of the eternal gospel to give them a second chance. But someone still ain't gonna believe even with a second chance. See angels descending from the temple, and whether that temple is from heaven on the earth, it's going to be angelic and it's going to be able to present the gospel so simple. Trust in Jesus. You can be saved. And there are going to be people absolutely not. I don't believe in Jesus. I don't believe in God. I'm not going to start believing.
Okay, before you close, Pastor, what about the 7 plagues?
The 7 plagues, we've already covered that. All that stuff. See, you was all up in Chattanooga. we done covered all that in detail.
I didn't see that. I know that, Pastor. I'm asking you a question.
Them seven plagues, the 7 plagues have already happened because we have the 4 horses of the apocalypse and we have the 7 trumpets. That has already taken place.
Okay.
And that got the world to where it is now. Now we're fixing to get into chapter 16 and verse 15. We're going to talk about these vow judgments or these bold judgments. Because those who have rejected Jesus Christ, he's fixing to pour out his judgment again upon those who are still alive and who reject the witness of the 144,000, reject the witness of the 6 angels that were really sent to preach the eternal gospel and to separate the believer from the unbeliever. And there are going to be those who still reject it, because this thing is winding up. It's winding up. By the time we get to chapters 18 and 19, this thing is winding up. Because we're going to enter into chapter 19 and things are finna settle, and we're getting close to the millennial reign of Christ, where Satan is going to be locked up and caged for 1,000 years. And then we're going to live on the earth, on this planet, for 1,000 years in perfect peace.
Yes.
Every human being that's ever been born, that's been saved, will live on this earth in perfect peace for 1,000 years. And at the end of 1,000 years, Satan will be let loose to purge the earth one more time.
I hope he stays
And he would be successful if it not were for the elect. Huh?
I sure hope he stays locked up.
Well, he will be locked up after chapter 19, because then it talks about, and I saw a new heaven and a new earth. It won't be until after chapter 19 that Satan is actually locked up, and all who have rejected God. And then you're going to have the great white throne judgment. The great white throne judgment is not for